Excellent. It does show that we are live on YouTube and Facebook.
Great.
So I will double check on my own personal device and make sure before we really get started.
Okay.
Great. And I already see some people hopping on here with us. Make sure that you do a huge favor, give us a thumbs up on the video. You can also start commenting, and we will be getting started here momentarily. All right. So good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for hopping onto our live broadcast. Of course, it is National Small Business Week, Westy Small Business Week, but we also reserve Wednesdays for a network welcome with some of our area businesses that are affiliated or connected with the Chamber. So today actually works in two ways. We're able to welcome into our network one of our area businesses and also highlight them during Small Business Week. Now, I am Juliette Abdel, your Chamber President and CEO, and I'm very thrilled to have with me Jennifer from the School of Rock in Broomfield. Thank you for being on here with me, Jennifer.
Thank you for inviting me to join you. It's going to be a really fun half hour.
I know, I cannot wait. So I will get the housekeeping out of the way. For those of you that are first-time viewers onto our video, make sure that you hit the like button on our page and the follow so you can get alerted when we post content or go live into the future. If you are returning back with us, then I want to thank you so very much for making that time in your day or afternoon, whenever it is that you do watch these videos, whether you watch them live or on replay. We appreciate you entirely. I want to emphasize that the share button is always your best friend on these videos. So if you haven't already done so, hit the share button so others in your network can see that we're live, can see that we're on here with one of our newer partners and can kind of hop on here and join us. Of course, you can find us on all of our social media platforms. And a lot of times people are engaged with us on one, but not the other. I always encourage you, if you are on social media pages outside of just Facebook and YouTube, that you engage with us on those as well. Different platforms allow for us to share out different messages, updates, and information, so it's not all coming to you from one source. So with that, we are on Instagram and Twitter at Westy Chamber. We're on LinkedIn, Westminster Chamber of Commerce, and of course, at the very same time that we're streaming this here on Facebook, we also have it streamed on our YouTube channel, Westminster Chamber. So that is now out the way. I can move into the more exciting part of this video, and that is when we start talking with our guests today, we are going to rely on you for some of this engagement with us. So feel free to start familiarizing yourself with the comment section on this video. Also, the reactions that you can make, whether it's a thumbs up, a nice heart, or any of those emojis so that we can see you and hear you. Those comments and questions we're always able to display on the screen, as we're already doing with our past board chairman, Brian Dice, and are able to kind of give you that shout out and love from both our guests and myself. Your name will display along with your profile picture, so hopefully it's something you're proud of, and then whatever comment that you have. Now, of course, if you ask us a question, we will add it to our queue and get to that question at a break during our discussion or maybe at the end of the broadcast. But we are relying on you to really rev up the energy in this broadcast, even though we pretty much have that side of it covered, I feel like. But thank you again, Brian. I also see Mayor Pro Tem Dave DeMont on here with us. Good morning to you. Thank you for joining us. Joanne, I see you as well. I know you didn't comment, but I do see you on our end. So good morning and thank you for hopping on. And our current chairman, Wayne Anderson, who's viewing us from our YouTube platform. So we shared at the very start that this is streamed here on our Facebook page and, of course, our YouTube channel, Westminster Chamber of Commerce. So if you know folks that are not Facebook savvy or don't have an account, you can always direct them to that page as well. But thank you so much, Wayne, for hopping on with us. Jennifer, I'm just going to jump right into it. I want people to get to know you. So let's talk about all things Jennifer.
Well, I have a feeling you already know one thing about me because that Joanne who's watching is most likely my mom.
Oh.
So I'm Jennifer Moriarta. I own the School of Rock in Broomfield. We do have Broomfield in our name, but we obviously serve a much larger area than that, including lots of our students who come from Westminster and the surrounding areas as well. So personally, I am not a professional musician, although I am a very passionate recreational musician. My background, and this is really funny because I watched your interview yesterday with the gentleman from World Juice Bar, and he started off and said, well, I started in engineering and then I went into music and now I do the juice bar. Well, I have the same story. I actually started off in music as a elementary and high school student. I played music all through my career in school, which was primarily piano. That was my first instrument. And I did play drums and played percussion all through high school. I was a nerd in the band, in the orchestra, and good stuff. But then I went to school for engineering. So my degree is actually in electrical engineering and computer science from UC Berkeley. After that, I went on to get an MBA and really did the very high-tech world, did the Silicon Valley thing.
Oh my God.
And then I went into medical devices for a few years, but ultimately I have come full circle back to music, which it's really funny because people say, think about what you did as a kid and what energized you as a kid, and music always has been that thing. And I feel really lucky now to be back owning and running my own music school and just creating this community of people who also feel so passionately about music as well. So I have a really musical family. And yeah, I mean, I'm actually at home. This is our music room at home. It looks like I could be in the studio at School of Rock, but music is really a big part of my life. So.
That is so awesome. I did think that you were in the studio, so that's too funny that you just mentioned that. And I absolutely love that your mom is on this broadcast with us. So shout out to all moms out there. I love that degree of connectedness that's there in that family bond. You just gave me so much to go off of, and I love it. Mayor Pro Tem DeMont just shared he was a fellow drumming band nerd. Drummers are the best. So I don't think we've ever talked about this, but I was also in band. Now, I was not with the fun, drumming side. I was more with the clarinet. But I appreciated you guys immensely. You liven things up. So I want to share that, you and I definitely had that experience in common, through high school and everything. I love that you went all over before coming back, because that just continues to show that this really became your passion and what drove you to come back here and get it started and going. The experience that you have in music, and then of course going into so many different fields and then coming back. It's funny that you mentioned yesterday's broadcast, because one of the things that I think we all see whenever we're working with business owners, and you may see this as well whenever you're working alongside other peers, is we're creative and we've got our hands in different things. Like, it's almost like a requirement that you are doing 50 different things before you hone in on that one.
I think that's totally true, but every experience kind of leads up to the next one, and I think helps enhance what you do next in life. I also didn't mention much about my family, but I do have 4 kids of my own. A lot of people don't know that. I have one daughter who's very involved at this School of Rock, and everyone knows her there. I think a lot of people there don't know that I have these 3 other children out there. But also just the experience of, having business background, music background. Well, also so much of School of Rock is, what makes us different from just being like a lesson studio is that we're putting kids in bands, we're putting on shows, we're really building a community, and we're really focusing on a lot. I mean, we serve all ages, but our sweet spot really is like that middle and high school age student, where there's really not a ton of after school activities for that age group. And we do that. And I think that my experience just as a mom, managing a family and having kids, knowing kind of firsthand all different age groups has also helped to foster some of that community. So I would say at the school, I'm somewhat of like the mom figure. All of our teachers, are like the rock stars and the really professional and highly skilled musicians. So it's a combination that I think really works.
It definitely does. Well, and it has over the last 2 years that you've had this business going and running. And thank you for sharing a little bit about your personal side and having those kids and the connection that you see with those others that you are teaching and educating through music. So I think that that's a strong bond that's there, and you're able to relate to the kids that are in there. But you're absolutely right. As soon as you said 4, I was like, come on, add like a couple of zeros to that. Like all those other kids are definitely your own. Like you get so invested in them and in their success that you become such a big part of their lives. So I absolutely love that. So let's touch a little bit on School of Rock. How long has it been around? Has it been around prior to you? Were you the one that really got the ball rolling on it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So School of Rock is a franchise. It's a global franchise, although the majority of the locations are in the United States. And the franchise itself is over 20 years old. It's maybe a little bit newer to Colorado. School of Rock has been in Colorado for maybe 10 years. And I originally came from the East Coast. That was where I was introduced to School of Rock when we lived outside of Philadelphia. And then coming to Colorado, my son joined the School of Rock here in Broomfield, and an opportunity came up about 5 years ago where that location was up for sale. And so I was a parent at that point. My son was a student at the school. And that's kind of how I fell into it, because I wasn't working at the time. I was somewhat looking for something to keep myself busy. And so I've been in that location for about 5 years now. But that location in Broomfield itself has been around for almost 10 years, and School of Rock as a whole has been around for more than 20 years. And a fun fact is that the School of Rock existed before the movie. So the movie came afterwards. The movie is somewhat a reflection of what an actual School of Rock is like. And a lot of people think that School of Rock was inspired by the movie. It's almost the opposite. So.
Oh, that's so funny. That is a fun fact that's out there. And I wondered about that when I have seen the movie. I'm like, how are they related, or how are they connected at all? So I'm glad that you emphasized that the school came before the movie and not the other way around. But 5 years is a huge milestone. So congratulations on hitting your 5-year mark. Tell us a little bit about what that looked like for you in COVID, because I always tell everybody, I'm always like, I've been here for about 5 years. Yeah, I know. Like this may require a longer broadcast, but I mean, a big part of, the last year and a half really has been COVID for you out of your 5 years. And so did that affect your business? And if so, was it in a positive way because people were like, hey, this is a new outlet that I can experience, especially since there has been lesser interaction? Or was it more of, hey, this is too close contact, we don't want to put our kids into this or ourselves?
So I would say 100% COVID affected us in a negative way. And in many ways, it continues to. However, we have weathered that storm, and in a lot of ways, we have come out of it with recognizing a lot of silver linings that came with all the pivoting and the changes that we had to make in response to COVID. So right off the bat, when everyone realized how serious this thing was, or we just didn't really understand much about COVID anyways, our business took a huge hit. We had maybe about 200 students right around March 2020. By the end of April, we had less than 130 students enrolled in our school. Um, it was a very scary time. We were still sort of in a lockdown situation, and we had to get our act together and figure out what we were going to do to try to survive. Now, I have to say, big shout out to the Corporate School of Rock, which is our franchisor. They were very helpful in helping schools navigate through this. And the big thing that we did, first of all, was just we went online like everybody else did. But the beauty of music instruction is that it existed as online music instruction existed even before COVID. So it was very doable to set up all of our instructors to teach their lessons from home. And that allowed us to maintain our employment, you know, and keep jobs for our music instructors. And we really didn't lay off or let go any of our teachers throughout all of COVID. And that helped us stay on track. Now, a big part of what School of Rock does, though, is performance, band rehearsal, live music, which is like, you know, going out to venues who were all really severely hit by COVID. So that was the hardest part. We had to come up with ways to reconfigure our whole building to accommodate a band rehearsal that could be done safely. Of course, we are singing rock music. When you sing, a lot of stuff comes out of your mouth. We added, you know, better ventilation in our school. We added air purifiers in all of our room, lots of plexiglass, and we actually wired our rehearsal spaces so that we could isolate the vocalists from the rest of the musicians. We implemented, you know, 6-foot social distancing, really intense cleaning routines, all of this. It was intense.
Yes.
It was a big change. Of course, singing and playing instruments in masks. I mean, playing drums in a mask is very strenuous, not to mention singing, of course, is just very difficult. But our students and our community have been amazing. We worked really hard just to keep the energy up, to keep the programs alive, to find the workarounds that would allow us to continue without sacrificing like the idea that we're going to be putting on a performance. And so instead of live shows, we did live streamed shows. And when I mentioned earlier, silver linings, you know, when we do a live performance, sometimes, you know, we might have 100 or 200 people in the audience, which is a really nice audience to perform in front of. But when we do a live stream, it turns out you could have a couple thousand people in the audience. And that was something that we never even saw coming. Moving forward, we're probably going to continue offering live stream options for at least some of our performances because so many people were happy to see their cousins or nieces and nephews perform from several states away or other countries, or just maybe some people who remain cautious and really don't want to be out in a group, but still want to see maybe their grandkids perform on stage. And so we can still offer them that. So that's just one example. You know, we're still to some degree figuring all of this stuff out, but those are, you know, ways that we've really had to work hard to figure out how we're going to get through this whole COVID.
Oh my gosh. And that was so great that you broke that down because you were absolutely right. Your industry and what you do is almost entirely around that kind of that spread of, you know, the particles, right? Like germs and what you're thinking of when someone is sick and when you want to be conscious and aware. So the fact that you had to go through so much, right? Not only were they wearing masks, but you had them isolated individually with that plexiglass, the ventilation system. I mean, you had to do so much in that space that you had and in such a short period of time. I mean, it wasn't like you closed, you still continued that practice and that training.
I have an amazing staff. It was an all hands on deck. Everybody do what needs to be done, and we figured it out. But you're right, we had to act so quickly, and now looking back on it is like a blur. How did we do that? But I think also it was kind of nice because during that shutdown period, it was a very difficult time from a mental health perspective, not being able to go anywhere, not knowing what was going to happen. For us to be so busy trying to come up with a solution to this problem, I think it also helped, you know, keep people from feeling too idle or too scared. You know, it's like we know what to do, you know.
No, I absolutely love that. And that was one of the I subliminally was saying it around the music, but it's such a big component of what we saw out of this was this isolation kind of created a huge increase in our mental health vulnerability and issues, and just even people that are accessing some of those resources have gone up. And music, I've always said, is a huge part to your self-care and your overall health and well-being. And so I feel like you have been like such a big blessing to all of those students that have been involved in there, and even to those people that have been able to engage with you on the virtual component. So that was a big positive that you were able to spin out of this, is engaging with a larger audience, engaging with people. It's exactly what you said, across state lines. I mean, I've got family that's like all over, right? And so I can't make it to things, and they invite me all the time. And I'm like, let's be real. Like, I can't fly out just for that day, stay, and then fly back. It's just not, financially doable, time constraint that's in there. But this opportunity for the live stream, I think, was a huge advantage, and you've capitalized on that fully, for sure.
Yeah.
So you're back to doing in-person functions and programs and events. I know that here recently in our downtown Westminster area, the North Metro Arts Alliance, the City of Westminster kind of came together and partnered and offered this the drive-in movies, right? And so, and I'm aware of this because we're plugged in and support that North Metro Arts Alliance group pretty well. And so that has been very well received as well through the community, you'd say, from attendee wise and maybe engagement.
Oh, for sure. I have to say, we are the School of Rock of Broomfield, and we're very involved in the Broomfield community, but we've always been super involved with the Westminster community too. Working with the City of Westminster has always been like super fun. I think they've been really supportive of our mission, and also finding creative ways that we can get involved. So our band has played at the tree lighting ceremony a couple of years ago. We always try to play at the Westminster Halloween Harvest Festival, which I know is not happening this year. And we did the opening band for the one of the drive-in movie nights. And also with you, we did the Struts, which was so fun. And I have to laugh. I actually I very rarely miss a performance. I'm always at every single one. That weekend, I happened to be away in Park City, but my daughter was there performing and my husband was there. And they are one of the people who came home with a dog from Mutts and Struts. So we got I came home from the weekend with a new puppy in the household, thanks to you.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it. That was so great. And your kiddos were phenomenal. We absolutely loved having them as a part of that Mutts and Struts program. And the great thing about those adoptables was it's been really hard for those facilities to find homes for those babies. And so to have those fosters out there was a great opportunity. We had one that had almost all of theirs adopted. So they left with probably one or two. And then we had another that, didn't have as much success, but it was still, compared to what they've been seeing in the foot traffic reduction because of COVID and because of costs and, even restrictions on jobs, people are losing their jobs, those types of things, they've seen a decline. And that's so funny that you've wound up with one of our own babies.
Yeah, no, we got the sweetest puppy, and he's just been a great addition to our family. Yeah.
Oh, that makes me so happy.
And I appreciate your compliments to our band too. That was our house band that played there, and they're just phenomenal, not just phenomenal musicians, but they're really amazing kids. Like you said earlier, like I have 4 of my kids of my own at home, but I do think of all of them as my kids too. I'm just so proud to see what they accomplish. I'm proud of our teachers for getting them to the level where they're playing at nearly professional sounding band, and all the opportunities that comes to them because of it. After Mutts and Struts, a few weeks after that, they played at Red Rocks. And that was like, that it's so awesome to me to offer them that kind of opportunity, but at the same time they step up and deliver. It's like this really cool relationship where we all win,
Yeah, no, and you're totally right. You're educating. The really nice thing about it too is you're educating them on the industry and the music and how to, and then you actually put them in that environment that they're able to get out there in front of a crowd, and crowds of varying sizes, right? From as small as the drive-in to our middle size, with our own Mutts and Struts, to even the larger one out there at Red Rocks. You're creating that environment that they're gathering that experience from, which is is going to be so great for them as they apply it into the future. I see Todd with us. Thank you, Todd, for engaging on this video. I don't want to lose sight as we're getting close on our time. So let's talk about Small Business Week. It runs until the 20th. What, if anything, are you doing to maybe try and encourage people to learn more about this school or to have their kids learn more?
Sure. So at School of Rock, we always, the not even isolated just to Small Business Week, but we always offer the first visit, the first lesson free. This is the best way for anyone who is kind of curious about what we do to check out the school and decide if it's a good fit. So you give us a call or you fill out the form on our website. We'll contact you right away and we'll set up a time for you to come in and have a free private lesson with one of our awesome instructors. It's really no strings attached. We really don't make a super hard sales pitch because honestly, usually when kids come in and they take the lesson, they usually know right away. They're like, Mom, Dad, we're doing this, so we offer the free lesson to anyone. So please check it out. We teach guitar, bass, vocals, keyboard, and drums. Those are our 5 main instruments because we really focus on the rock band instruments. And then the other thing I would mention, because, if you watch the movie, remember the line Jack Black says, we service society by rocking. So we do that because we are a performance-based school and we offer a lot of free performances. So if you want to come out and check out School of Rock from a distance, we have a couple of live shows coming up. They're totally free. We'll be playing at Wednesday, September 29th at the outside stage area at Top Golf. Come hit some balls and then come listen to some music. And then our next performance after that is Saturday, October 9th. We'll be playing up in Estes Park at the Pumpkins and Pilsners Festival. So getting a little destination show on the calendar there. And we have other dates that we are booking now for October, including like Halloween themed stuff, and into November. The band is even available if anybody needs a band for your private parties or things like that. But anyways, in terms of the Small Business Week, we invite anyone to come in and check it out and just take a free lesson and see if it seems like a good fit. And I mean all ages. Our youngest student is at this point 4 or 5 years old, I think about to turn 5. Our oldest students are, retired in their 70s. And we have something for everyone. We have an adult program, little kids. But like I mentioned earlier, that sweet spot for us really does tend to be like the middle and high school age students, maybe like from about 10 to 17-ish. Those are the core group that you're going to see when you come into School of Rock.
That's awesome. And I love that varying perspective that you have, because it's exactly what you said. Even the retired or those of us that are looking to change things up, it doesn't matter at what age, you're just choosing to go out and learn and do something different, right? And that's something completely out of the ordinary, or maybe it was something you were thinking about and you haven't really just revved up the courage to do so. So I've included those live show dates and locations in the comment section for anyone that is interested in going out to check out that free music. Of course, I've also included information about that free session that they can go out and check out. They can call you for this or go to the website. What is that phone number that they can call?
Our number is 303-325-3772.
Awesome. And then the website that they would find that information on?
You can go to broomfield.schoolofrock.com.
Perfect. And I've included both of those in the chat section for you all. We've quickly displayed them onto the screen. So if you're interested in filling out the form, super easy for you to do so on their website, or you could just pick up that phone and let them know, hey, I just saw the broadcast, or, wanted to learn more information. They're located, yes, in Broomfield. We talked about this, I think, considerably. Just because they're in another community doesn't mean we don't love them as much. We know that they're going to continue to grow and eventually, grow into my community too. But the point being is that they're right there, catty corner to us. And that address, for those that are looking for you guys,
our address is 11970 Quay Street, or Key Street, depending on how you like to say that word. And it's a kind of a side street. So the main intersection there is 120th Avenue and Main Street in Broomfield.
Yes. That is perfect. That's so funny. However you want to say it is going to be the right way. There's no wrong, right?
Your GPS will still find it.
Yeah, it will still figure it out, regardless of what accent you choose on that GPS. Well, perfect. So those are the ways that you can find the School of Rock out in Broomfield. Again, I had the pleasure of visiting with Jennifer. She is the owner of the location. It's been around for over 10 years, but they have been owning it for 5 years. 5 years is huge. So please type into the chat a congratulatory remark at any point in time. If you end up watching this video and we are no longer live, you can still give us that hashtag replay so I know you tuned in. If you have questions for Jennifer, maybe you have specific questions because you have kiddos of your own, or you yourself were thinking about something and you didn't feel comfortable enough to say that you were a band nerd like we did, you can always DM it to the page and we will get that question over to Jennifer and her team to be able to answer you. Again, School of Rock is one of our awesome partners that's here in the Westminster Chamber. They service the entire metro area, not just Broomfield. And of course, they have everything that's available is for different ages. So definitely check them out, especially during Small Business Week. You can do your part. I've included a video about Small Business Week overview, what you can do outside of just financially in supporting businesses. You could start by hitting the share button on this video and spreading the word out about this awesome resource that we have here. Of course, going out there and supporting those kiddos. And thank you once again to all of you that are tuned in, and to you, Jennifer, for being a part of this broadcast with me.
Yeah, thank you for having me here. And thanks for all you do too, Juliet. You have lots of really great positive energy. And I really appreciate all that what Chamber does to support the local businesses.
Thank you so much.